Super excited to have our first guest, Sabooh Whitelaw, who is General Manager of Energy Services at Lumia. So thanks so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me, Jill and Katie.
No worries. So, way of introductions, I'm Jill Ryder, founder of Precision, and then now in Vernova, which is experts in renewables and energy recruitment.
I'm Katie Nicholas. I'm Principal Consultant at Vernova. I cover all things development in the renewable space.
Right, so maybe we could kick off just with a bit of an introduction from yourself, and perhaps you could explain a bit more about your role and what you get up to day.
Yeah, sure. So as you've already said, I'm the GM of Energy Services. It's a bit of a mouthful. What does that actually mean? So Lumia is the number one connector of renewable energy into the national electricity market. So we connect a lot of generators, solar, wind, offshore wind, batteries. And so I'm really proud to be part of that energy transition. We need a lot more of these renewable energy coming onto the grid and really helping through the transition that's happening at the moment. I've just been back-to-back in meetings today. I was in a strategy workshop yesterday. So, this is really timely. We're really talking about how we can accelerate some of that transition through either making life easier for the developers or, bring more females into the industry, think differently. The challenge is a little bit different to what it was previously.
Yeah, cool. So how did you actually get into that role?
Yeah, my career has been a lot of side steps, and I was saying this to Katie the other day. I'm an accountant by trade, so I started as an accountant at KPMG in banking. So all my clients were financial services, investment funds, which was a great foundation. I did an international secondment. It was fantastic.
Eventually, where did you go?
San Francisco for 2.5 years.
Oh wow!
It was amazing. It was a good time. I was 25 years old. I lived the life, and it was fantastic. It gave me a different view of culture, how working in another country was like. So that was great. After I had kids, I was like, well, I want to do something that I felt was more about the world or bigger than just me. I made my role. So I ended up in energy, just doing accounting. I was a finance manager at one of the energy companies, and that gave me the passion. I came in as carbon tax had just been taken away, and I firsthand saw the impact of carbon tax. The coal generators were not being used. Gas had come down because it was they were incentivized not to be used. And when it got taken away, I saw the impact of coal generation going through the roof. And at that stage, I was like, okay, there is a way to move the needle. I was really disappointed to see that go, but then it's, that gave me the passion to this is where I want to be.
Yeah.
And it was so complicated. I would go home, I was like, I'll turn this light on. And the light turns on. And everything that happens is so much more complicated, which I've never really thought about. Where does it And the electrons just get there.
Yeah. All right. That's interesting.
How did you get into?
How did I get into recruitment?
Yeah, or even renewable recruitment.
So recruitment kind of did the sort of classic. I don't think many people, especially when I left uni, were like, oh, I'm going to become a recruiter. I kind of fell into it. One of my friends from uni rang up and went, oh, I've got a job in this company. And at the time I'd moved from university back home because I didn't have any money, and I was selling software, GIS software, bizarrely.
Were you? I didn't know that.
Yeah. That's what I was saying, the AutoCAD thing that comes in sometimes in some of our roles.
I know that.
And then he rang up and went, Jill, I've got, bizarrely, one of our friends who was in the same halls of residence, he was interviewing my friend, and he's like, he's got some more roles. Do you want to have a go? I was like, yeah, brilliant. Gets the opportunity to go from deepest, darkest Yorkshire to London. And then, got the job, and then kind of the rest is history. So I started off in IT, met my husband a few years later, came over here, and and then worked for Hayes for a year, and then decided to set up Precision. So that's coming up for 20 years this year. So
congratulations.
shows my age a bit.
Yeah, so talking about successful women, built an entire recruitment business 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Launched Vinova.
Yeah, and then the Vinova renewables piece came because I guess like maybe a couple of years ago, a lot of our existing companies that we were servicing from an IT perspective, you know, like say your Transgrids and others were coming to us with, they had a need in that renewable space. So it kind of like organically grew from that. And then a year ago, we separated from Precision to create Vinova as kind of that renewables and energy brand.
Just focusing on
renewables.
renewables.
And then I shifted over from IT into renewables. So that's kind of
and I guess like talking of things that you should be proud of, which obviously you should be proud of that. What is there something in your career that you can think of that's like a light bulb moment of like, yeah, I should be proud of that and I should brag about that?
I don't know if I have a moment where maybe I do and I don't remember it.
Yeah, it's hard to like focus, isn't it?
Yeah, I when I look back, I probably have been part of a lot of projects in renewable energy, either getting government funding for them or internally getting the board across the line on business cases, or a strategic direction. So I have a hand in a lot of those projects getting financial close or getting to where they are today, and some of them have been huge. So it's it's, you know, I know it takes a team of people doing them, but I think I'm proud of getting to the point where, you know, there were an idea, a thought, but then they actually come to fruition. So it's really nice to be able to go somewhere and say, oh, I played a pretty big role in that big battery over there.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So it does make me proud to be part of that.
Yeah, for sure. Does your family actually know what you do? Then
if
we ask them,
that's a question I did read. And I asked my kids.
Ask them, what would they say? How many kids you got?
I've got two. I did.
Got
a 14-year-old and I've got an 11-year-old.
Okay.
11-year-old was like, "Don't you just run around telling people what to do?"
That sounds very similar.
That you do to them.
You know what? That sounds so similar to what my kids say. Well, what do you do? And then they actually think one of our colleagues is my boss as well, Joel. Joel's the boss because I speak to him on the phone all the time. Yeah. So that's funny.
Yeah,
that's
pretty much is the boss.
Just to follow
it's funny
along.
what they pick up. My 14-year-old had a good go. He went into you do large scale grid batteries. I was like, okay, you're kind of on track.
Wow, that's pretty insightful.
My husband still goes to, oh, you're an accountant.
Oh no!
By trade, not anymore.
Yeah,
Do you think that your kids will follow in your footsteps and go into the renewables? It's too early to tell. Do they talk about it?
Yeah, no, I talk about it a lot. So I would love for them to go into it. I'm really passionate about it. And I do it for them. Like it's the next generation that's going to be impacted by this. I won't be around.
Yeah.
I hope so. I hope my daughter will. My son's very much a pilot.
Oh, right. Okay.
It's a pilot since he was 3 years old and he hasn't changed his mind.
Yeah. So would you say at home then, because of your role, you're kind of more environmentally aware as well? Does that come out at home? And how?
I probably have a background. I'm Pakistani, so I've always grown up a little bit frugal, I'd say. You know, but it's because I've seen poverty and all that. So when I have that land, I don't like waste. Like I will not throw out food. It's like I will make little bits, and we don't throw out food. I like not to have waste. Like if I don't want to have to put rubbish out, I don't get plastic bags for my fruit and stuff. So I've never done that. It's just more things I have to throw out. I rent a lot of dresses if I have to go somewhere. I always have. I don't want to sit there.
Yeah.
So the kids do see that, and it's they think it's because I'm frugal, but I think it's because I'm sustainable.
Where do you go then?
I go to a glam corner. It's my go-to for some reason.
Do you know Glam Corner?
I've heard of it. I've never been organised enough
You
to
do have
go
to be organised.
and like plan it and go and get.
I always get two, so I get a backup dress, and it's like one of them will work out.
Like being a senior woman in the industry, we spoke about it the other day on the phone, and I guess, like underrepresentation for women in senior leadership in our industry. I guess I'm asking you to pinpoint something again, but like, have there been challenges that you faced? And if so, like, yeah, what can you kind of tell us about the learnings from it?
Yeah, I think there are a lot of challenges. I think over the years I've been overlooked in favour of males a lot. And I think when I think back, it's one of those, it feels like it's demoralising at the time, but I think I've been able to pivot to change the mindset to this is what I want to do. I still want to be aligned to my values of, you know, I want to be true to myself. I want to be authentic. So then if that didn't feel right, or that organisation or that role, I've pivoted quickly. There are still a lot of challenges. I do still feel I'm one female in a boardroom of 10, and it's really hard to keep trying to make the same point.
Yeah.
And it feels like there's a lot of confirmation bias when you're in a room like that, and they're all trying to be yes people. And it is a bit of a challenge to be different. So I'd love to see some more females. I do try to mentor a lot of females outside the industry to try to get them in.
Yeah.
Somehow people who have soft skills or, you know, project management can come into the industry. There's a lot of need for marketing and, you know, a lot of stakeholder engagement type roles. I don't know if I have a solution. I kind of navigate it on a daily basis, and some spaces I feel are safe to be able to speak up, and I do find Lumia is quite good. I do feel comfortable challenging the norms, but then there are where, you know, I can't in the regulatory space, and I just struggle through how I do that.
Yeah, I don't think there really is like one particular solution, but I think it all starts from like just talking about it, and I think like mentoring. I think we spoke about mentoring yesterday, didn't we? About I think that's just having like a safe space to talk about it and encourage and just talk about things is really important.
Even do you find you're in the minority as a female? Probably a lot of females in recruitment.
Historically, well, do you know what? Really, recruitment, I don't know the actual stat, and I should do, but I think there is quite an even spread, male versus female. But I've always worked, apart from this renewables side, in IT, and that's been heavily male dominated. Since starting Precision, I haven't personally experienced it, because I guess I'm in a lucky position that I get to kind of set the tone to a certain extent. But working for other companies, definitely. It hasn't necessarily affected my personal career, but it's just more, you know, like what you said, you know, you're in a board meeting or whatever, and you are the only woman in there. Sometimes it's just more irritating. I find it like, just like, shut up, like, and they're, you know, slapping each other on the back and things like that. So I don't think it affects me, but I do think about how it would affect other people in that room, more so. I don't think there is like one single answer. I think it's like an education piece, constantly reminding men, to be honest, a lot of the time. And I think just things like creating an environment where, you know, typically, not always, but quite often women are a bit quieter, can be a bit less forceful, a bit less kind of, they're not as good as pushing themselves forward, being the louder voice. So it's kind of creating that environment where women are given the space to, you know, share their ideas and that they're listened to, which I think is lacking.
Do you feel that males also have a role to play in terms of allyship? Like, it's really important when I, you know, in the meetings that I have been able to be forthright is where I know I've got an ally sitting next to me, where it's like, okay, he's got my back.
Where I think that's so important, where you feel supported, even if it's just one person in a room.
Exactly. I see. We need more males doing that for females, to get the senior females in and talking.
Is it like, what is the female to male, do you like spread in the renewable space? Is it again quite male dominated?
It's really male dominated, especially in space in Transgrid Lamia are in. So we have a commercial arm, so we're not too bad. But Transgrid's very project delivery focused out in the field. And it's actually, I think they don't do too badly, but it's still 40, 60. And there's a lot of internships for females that do it, but then they drop out and they've got to live out in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, okay.
It is hard work. We do find a lot more females in the office roles.
Right.
But it would be good to encourage more project management, more engineering, field roles. But that's just not coming through in the universities at the moment.
And when you say, like, did you just say internships that you, like, what do they look like? Are they specifically around, like, women in the, like, on the construction sites and stuff?
Yeah, there are, and they're apprenticeships too. So, and they are only for, I think they're offered to a lot of females. And Transgrid actually does a lot of work with encouraging females into that space. And then they're out there, you know, doing the same thing. And some of them are really good. Like the ones that have come up through the ranks are amazing. Like they have, they deal well with the landowners, the people aspect of this whole transition. Yeah. Where, you know, we are trying to negotiate putting very large infrastructure in the middle of nowhere, and women just tend to be more empathetic and can get people over the line in a more human way.
Yeah, makes sense. Have you got any kind of sort of top tips for women wanting to get into that renewables side of things? Is there any advice that you might give them?
Yeah, I think you need to network. I think there's a lot of join women in energy.
Yeah, there's quite a few
and those
things out there now, isn't there?
Yeah, and I go to a lot of them.
How do you find those
I like
meetups, organisations?
They can be draining.
Kind of.
Yeah.
Are they women specific?
Yeah, I like the women one, because especially the younger generation. They've got the energy. You know, you want that to come through. I think if it's earlier in their career, try go down the STEM path at universities. Yeah. And if you're already in the field, you know, try using the soft skills. Like, I'm an accountant, and so there's plenty of roles. I think if there is a will, I think you can move through the network. And I think it does require a lot of sidestepping. I feel like it's not always up. You just gotta do your time. And maybe it's in a role you maybe don't love, but once you've got in there, you gotta get foot in the door.
Pivot from
exactly. Yeah. The opportunities are just, there's so many once you're in. Yeah. Are you finding a lot of females coming through as you're recruiting? Is that what's?
Yeah, because I do more on the commercial side. So obviously it's less kind of delivery, therefore less heavy technical, and you know, I feel that there's a fairly good spread. I need to look on. Yeah, we can get on talent insights and stuff, and you can look at the female to male ratio and everything like really easily. So I need to kind of run.
We've got a team of 5 at Vinova, and Jill covers the commercial roles. I do the development roles, which has like your community engagement piece, like the landowner stakeholder negotiation, which is typically, I guess, if you are going to have females in the industry, they're in those kind of roles, not exclusively, obviously. And then we've got the 3 boys who cover the construction and engineering, just because naturally, like, that's where they're going to build relationships better, and we're going to build relationships better with people on the commercial side of things, which is quite interesting.
Yeah, it is interesting.
And I remember I said to Rich, I said, why did you put me on the development desk? Why didn't you put me on the construction desk? And he was like, what, did you want to deal with like blokes in the construction site in hard hats every day? And I was like, yeah, I think it'd be fun.
Yeah. So when you think about it, we're kind of playing towards those stereotype roles, aren't we? Yeah, it is true. It is true.
I was going to say about like on the recruitment side of things and interviewing, have you got any like funny stories about like either being in an interview yourself and like absolutely fluffing it, or interviewing someone and thinking, oh my God, get me out of here, or anything like that?
Yeah. Many. Yeah.
When you're dealing with people.
Oh, yeah. People are fun. We've had so many where people, you read a resume, it's like, oh, okay, sounds amazing. And then they go up and they literally cannot even explain their resume.
Yeah.
It's like, what did you do in this job? Oh, just words.
Yeah.
And it was
no substance.
It's funny when you're cutting it short. It's like, okay, well, I've heard enough. I don't want to waste your time, my time.
What's the shortest interview you've ever had?
In 10 minutes. I was like, yeah, we're done.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Well,
it's quite good to be able to call it out and not waste your time.
Yeah, we were like, okay, this is... And there was actually my colleague who was like, yeah... I think we don't have any more questions. I was like, yeah, this has been great. Yeah, we've got to move on to our next one.
But that shows the importance of prepping for an interview and just getting your facts straight on like the basics of what you do.
And they didn't know what we did. I'm just like, okay, well, this is not going
just
anywhere.
Just go on the website. 5 minutes.
How hard is that? You pull it up in front of you.
Yeah.
But I've had some really good ones too. We an organisation I worked at, we were really trying to get females in, so we had to justify for every role. We had to justify when our preferred candidate was not a female.
Oh wow, okay.
And I really like that because it almost forced us to
really think about the decision.
And it really did force us, because it was like you'd go to there's confirmation biases, all these sorts of biases we have in our heads.
Yeah.
And we go, this person's not like me. It's like we'll go this way, but then it was really assessed why we were saying no to a female. And it almost went the other way, where we were just saying yes to females after a while, and the males started complaining about it.
You have to have the best person for the job at the end of the day.
But
we've actually had a real recent challenge, I'd say, around hiring women, and it's really been because it's quite hard to recruit in our industry. We actually use recruiters ourselves as well, bizarrely. So, and we've just had like a flurry of men that have been really great candidates. And it's not where we can pick out of 4 or 5 people. It is, you find a candidate and they're good and then amazing, you hire them.
Yeah.
But then it has kind of come to a point where we're like, oh, geez, there's actually like loads of men. And it is like, what do you do?
And we don't have like set office days of what days you can work from home and what days you can be in the office. So there are times when the women that are in the team are working from home, and I'll perhaps be the only one in the office sat with 10, 12 men, which like you obviously don't notice it because the guys are great, but it's more so when you're sat in the meeting room and it's very loud, laddie culture, which I don't know how to articulate it. The culture here is amazing, but you'd really notice it when you're in one room. And I'm not a quiet person, but I go quiet sometimes.
Yeah, we've had a lot of conversations around what we can do to try and get more women on board, and it is a tough one.
How successful was it with that process you were doing with the interviews and justifying them?
It was really, it actually was more successful than anything I've seen since. Yeah. And it was a female CFO. She was very, she was firm. That's how she wanted everyone to think about. I haven't seen anything else work better. I think the other one that does maybe work is if you've got a female as an interviewee, even if you're interviewing a male. Yeah. Just to get that lens. But if you're not getting applicants, I mean, that's just... We have pretty much the same in renewable energy. Like if we were trying to recruit, we often don't get
you don't have don't have anyone a female to compare
to.
You
can't try to pluck them from anywhere.
Yeah. So I guess it does start from kind of more of a holistic view and like getting girls into STEM subjects at school.
Yeah.
So it's
networking, I do find, is good for that. So you might talk to a couple of talented females, and they're like, "Oh, I've been thinking about it," but often they don't have the confidence.
That's right.
To jump to something unknown.
Yeah.
And if they meet somebody, I can often go, "Let's have a resume. Let's have a chat."
Yeah.
Those are useful, but other than that, like, we'll have to be hanging out at universities.
Hanging around. Yeah. We did talk about
career fairs.
Yeah, we did talk about, which we are going to do, is like headhunt just women.
Yeah.
So just like a targeted kind of campaign, and have women interview early on as well, or before, like someone like me make the approach as opposed to like my counterpart who's male.
I find that I would probably be more if I was looking more receptive to a female, because I do think males kind of push you into a path as recruiters that sometimes like, well, not where I want to go.
Yeah. It's kind of a bit more, I suppose, softer approach.
Yeah. And like, that's your next role, isn't it? No.
Yeah. Well, I think in general, recruiters typically tend to have a reputation, which is obviously more negative than positive in that sense when it comes to being pushy.
What's the best sort of work incentive social thing that you've been on? Or that you might have organised?
I like the volunteering one. So I really like, we've done like Oz Harvest and Fair Share. Yeah. Love those ones. We did one where we had to make a prosthetic arm.
Wow.
And it was a team of 3, and it's like it's a whole tool kit that it comes with, and they made us do it with our left hand, and it was so difficult, but it's so rewarding. It took us a couple of hours to put it all together, and then it was like goes on to the arm. It was that, I love that. It was very impactful. To the
prosthetic arm?
It goes to its nominated person somewhere in the world. And we wrote letters to this person, and then you get a picture back when they get it and they're using it. Like, it's really impactful.
I hope they check it thoroughly before they send it.
Yeah, they go through the quality check. I know. We were the same.
They would be like, don't use that.
I was like, how do you screw a thing in?
You don't want to be getting a defect one, do you? If someone's not very good at doing it.
No, it went to multiple QCs. I was like, okay, good. So this is just a test.
A thumb for the ring finger.
Like, when it fell off. I love those. I think they have such a big, they stay with you much longer.
I think like even, I say little things, but they're not little things, like litter picking, like we used to do that a lot at my old company in London, just go out for the day and litter pick in the river or down the parks.
We had one where we just had to umpire, or we had to facilitate a kid's soccer game. Like, they were just underprivileged kids, and they just needed somebody to umpire and play with them. Like, done. And it was so fun. Like, you're out there, the kids they don't have anybody to play with. We brought balls, and the happiest kids in the world. Like, this makes it all worthwhile.
Yeah. What's the best one you've done?
Pardon?
What's the best one you've done?
We've done the things which were good though, like just making sandwiches for underprivileged kids and things like that. We've done that, and I do agree it's a lot more long lasting than getting drunk in the pub for the team as well. Like the kind of coming together, the camaraderie, and then people obviously get a kick out of like doing something for someone else and feeling like they're helping, don't they?
Totally. I wrote a book. Like, there's a organisation that it's called Library for All.
Okay.
And they're finding that a lot of the underprivileged countries, or developing nations, they have storytelling culture, but they don't have a reading culture.
Okay.
So the parents will sing and do stories, but they don't get into the reading. They don't teach their kids to read. But they all have phones and iPads. So they were going around organisations just writing little stories, digital stories that they would have on their iPads. So as a team, we wrote a story, which was awesome. And I go to Amazon and it's there. It's like anyone can download that. It was just a kid's book. Hardest thing I've ever done, because the lady, they kind of guide you through the book writing process, and it's so complicated.
Really?
Like, the first 4 words that you write are the most important. Like, you've got to hook them in.
Yeah, okay.
And what were your first 4 words?
I can't remember now, but it was like, it took me so long. We were like, it can't be Once Upon a Time, something else.
Okay. Yeah.
It sounds like you've worked like for some really good employers that are doing a lot of extracurriculars.
Yeah. So that was with Origin Energy, and they have unlimited volunteering.
Yeah,
hours.
right.
So, and I'm one of those like, okay, great, I'll go do it.
Yeah. That's so
And
good.
every manager I've had were very supportive. It's like, all right, let's try. And then I got involved with the foundation, and I became. We did loads of to do little solar buddy lights. Have you ever done those? Like, you have them sent out to you, and you kind of put this little light together. It's a solar light that kids wear in Africa or in Asia. It's so it has solar panel on one side and it's a bright LED light on the other side. Is there a lot of them are still kerosene based? They're studying under kerosene lights, and they're getting lung and respiratory issues. So that replaces that, and it just gets sent out to you. I've done it with my kids, and you just put it together and you send it off, and they QC it, thankfully, everything, because it's like it's got a battery in it. It's like,
yeah, right.
So how did we access that?
You can order them online. I think it's like $30 or $35 for a light, and you put it together. It goes off to a QC, and then they send it out to whichever country they're doing a drive in. And those ones are it's really easy, but I did so many of them. I'll just happily sit around. I did over COVID. I was just like putting these lights together.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah, those kind of do stay with you. It's like, okay,
yeah,
even if I change one kid's life,
oh my goodness, yeah,
it's amazing.
Yeah, that's so cool.
Solar Buddy Lights.
Yeah,
great organisation, Brisbane based, I think.
Yeah.
Okay.
So if you had an audience with you had an audience with Anthony Albanese, what would you like to talk to him about?
I think I would talk to him about climate action and renewable energy, and how we use our superpower. I feel like Australia's superpower is renewable energy. We've got sun, we've got wind. We are leading in the energy storage in the world. So how do we make it easier for more of these technologies to come online, even newer technologies? There's 8-hour storage solutions. There's a whole lot of technologies that we should be fast tracking to come online. How do we do that? And then and I think the other one for me, probably even in renewable energy but outside, is the participation of Indigenous in our industry. On top of the females, I think we really do. They have a lot of knowledge in how they've learned how to make sure that we look after the environment. How can we learn from that? How do we how we bring them on the journey? What role they play in this energy transition. And we do find some of them are really interested. And again, it's a similar conversation to females. How do we encourage them? How do we help them?
Bring them to the table and bring them to the party.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's a role government needs to play. It's just industries probably will try but may not get there as fast as you have a bit of
government-led
support.
Initiative. What do you guys currently do on the Indigenous front at the moment?
So we've got a RAP reconciliation plan, stretch plan. We do a lot of, because we do a lot of delivery in Transgrid Group. We end up trying to use that avenue to get as many First Nations contractors as we can. We also have I've had a couple of interns who've been Indigenous, which has been great just to get them in. They're doing engineering degrees. They came in, so we try to support that through that lens. I think we can do more. Again, I don't come across a lot of them in the network, so maybe I'm not in the right network. I need to join those. How do we attract them? I do find the interns were a really good way, so they then took that back to their communities and talked about it. It almost needs to come from them because they're such a community culture.
How long have we been going for?
All right.
I'm glad you didn't ask me the zombie question.
Should we do
what was your zombie one?
Which would you want with you in a zombie apocalypse?
Which one?
God knows what the last one.
Go on, do
That was a question from Joel, who we were talking about earlier. He loves that stuff.
Go on, do that last one. Go on.
So, what are 3 people, if there was a zombie apocalypse, what 3 people would you have with you?
Has it got to be famous people or?
Oh, good question. I don't know.
It could be
Does it have
well
to be
known,
alive people.
or it could be
anyone. You
I
can
said
have
that to my kid, but
someone
they're like
you've never met
Superman then.
before.
Like Batman.
Yeah, all the superheroes.
or some sort of influencer.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, somebody who can run an Instagram page.
That Kilarte stuff. Your daughter will get into that soon.
Yeah.
Oh, jeez.
Oh,
Shoot me now. Right, yeah, so go on.
I don't actually. I feel like I need to be somebody strong. So I go to, I'm a tennis player, so I'll go to Serena Williams. Like to me, like she's strong.
Yeah,
sure,
yeah.
You know, and she's a powerhouse.
Protector.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. I like food, so I'd want somebody who can like, make
A good
meals.
cook.
Yeah.
Who's your favourite? Have you got like a favourite
I
cuisine
like the
or?
recipe tinned
Oh yeah,
nuggy.
What's that?
Yeah, she's really good.
She's amazing.
Yeah.
Every recipe I've made of hers. I'm
Oh no,
like,
surely you go like your grandma or something for the cooking.
No.
Oh.
I wouldn't have a recipe. I'd be cooking myself. I want her to cook.
Yeah,
So I
yeah,
don't mess up any meals.
yeah.
I don't know about another. Maybe somebody who can maybe a scientist.
Yeah, you'd need like high.
Somebody who can
who
intelligence.
can outsmart the zombie. Yeah, because zombies are so intelligent, Katie.
No, that's right.
Yeah.
Or maybe Jane Goodall. I don't know who. Like she talks to animals.
Who's that?
Jane Goodall. She's a scientist. I think she was in one of the UN panels. She lives in Africa and talks to all the like monkeys and.
Well, you've covered all bases there.
I think I have. With Jane, I probably have.
Yeah.
And I'll just.
And
I
you're
will
just
do
saying-
Oh,
nothing.
she
Just
could
pray,
communicate to
nothing.
the zombies for you.
Yeah.
Translate.
Yeah, there you go.
And you'll
Well,
have your daughter
oh.
there axe throwing.
Exactly. Yeah. I'm covered. Well, I did think, what about Bear Grylls? Like he's
Oh, that's a good shout.
Yeah.
Yeah. Someone like that.
Good at
Yeah.
A survivor.
Survivor.
Mm.
Yes.
yeah. Very good. Well, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah,
so
Really
thank
much
you for
appreciate
having
your
me.
time. It's been
so
good to have a
lovely.
little chat.
No, it's been great. Thank you for having me.